My name is Mikel Critchlow, M-I-K-H-E-L-C-R-I-C-H-L-O-W. I came to New York when I was 16 years old. I came with my mother from Trinidad and Tobago. She was recruited by the Department of Education to be a teacher in the public school system here in New York. I came actually 3 days after my 16th birthday in 2001. I really came here hoping to pursue a career in architecture. I knew New York City had a lot of great architecture schools, so New York was where I wanted to be. My mother also believed that, so she decided it would be a good idea to bring me here to New York. My mother is still enrolled, still currently a teacher in New York City. However, I was able to go to school. I was able to go to college. I got a bachelor's degree in architectural technology. However, I'm unable to use that degree because I am aged out. When I turned 21 years old, I was no longer considered the dependent of my mother. So I basically aged out. I'm undocumented now. It's difficult coming from a single income household because my mother is the only one allowed to work as a teacher, and with a teacher's salary it's very difficult to send me to college. I can only imagine how difficult it is for other teachers who have multiple children at home. Because I aged out, I wasn't able to get work in the field of architecture. However, while I was in school, I did have an internship, one internship. When I look at my peers, they've all gone on to pursue careers in architecture, while I am unable to do so. Because I'm undocumented, I have no identification, I have no driver's license, which is difficult because just moving around New York City, you know, sometimes the cops stop you, you need identification. Just to get in a lot of buildings in New York City, you need identification. So, you know, not having an ID card is a problem. I also don't have health insurance. With Obamacare, we were really hoping that, you know, people will have health insurance for, you know, a lot more people will have health insurance, but being undocumented, I don't have health insurance. So if God forbid something happens, I don't know how I'd be able to pay for that. When the president announced that he was implementing the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program earlier this year in 2012, you know, I was really excited. I thought this would be a great opportunity for me to actually begin working in the architecture field. However, when I began looking at the program, I realized this is only for people under the age of 16. And I entered the country after 16, 3 days after my 16th birthday. So, you know, because of those 3 days, I'm still not helped. I'm still unable to work. It's been challenging organizing, just organizing the youth to come together and really fight to get the children of teachers their green cards and the permanent residency that they were promised. It's been challenging because so many of them are afraid, so many of them don't want to come out of the shadows and actually stand up and make a loud voice and tell the politicians, this is what we were promised, this is what we need. You know, all of us, we went to school. We're just a highly educated group of kids, and it's really sad that, you know, no one really hears our story, and there's not a lot of people out there supporting us because we've sort of gotten lost in the immigration debate. I really believe my future would have been a lot different if we were given what we were promised, if we had gotten our permanent residency a long time ago. You know, it's 11 years has been a long time. You know, I could have, you know, gotten really far in my career. I could have had my master's degree by now. I could have become a registered architect by now. So going forward in the future, I really hope that, you know, whoever the powers that be give this group of kids what they were promised, and that is their permanent residency. A lot of us have degrees, you know. Mine is in architecture, and others are in law and medicine, and these are careers that really need people. So, you know, going forward in the future, I really hope this group is given what they were promised.
Hi, I'm Alden Nesbitt, A-L-D-E-N-N-E-S-B-I-T-T. I came here in 2001 with my mother, my brother, and my sister. I was 11 years old, my brother was 18, and my sister was 16 years of age. My mother came here to teach special education in the New York City Department of Education. She taught special education 20 years in Trinidad and taught in America the last 11 years we've lived here. My mother wanted to come to the United States because my sister needed to go to school. She wanted to go to school for culinary arts. My brother wanted to go to school for architecture, and I had health issues. I suffered with severe migraines at a young age, and in Trinidad the medical is not as advanced as it is in America. So one of our goals was to help me with my medical, while I also wanted to go to school and learn how to be a psychologist, a criminal psychologist in the New York City school system. We came here in 2001. That was 11 years ago. My mother expected a place for us to stay, not the entire time, but temporary, which we did not get. We stayed in the attic, in my aunt's attic, the four of us, for 3 years. My mother expected permanent residency, eventually green cards, which we still do not have. Currently, my brother is a green card holder because he got married. My sister is 28 years of age. She is undocumented with a degree in culinary arts, business management. I went to public school in the United States. I went to middle school. I graduated high school with a Regents diploma, and I spent 4 years in college until I realized I aged out. I am now 21 years of age. When I was 21, I got a letter from the USCIS stating that my status is being revoked. I tried to apply for a student visa at that time, but it was already too late. So at the age of 21, I realized I was aged out. I got a letter from school saying that I could no longer participate in Kingsborough Community College because my status changed. I also have no IDs. I don't have identification, and the last 11 years has been a struggle and a fight for me and my family. My sister, who's 28 years, she has an 8-year-old son. She has an 8-year-old son and a degree in business management, and she can't do anything. Right now, she's not doing anything with her life, and she is very depressed about it. She's one of the reasons why I'm fighting so hard, because I know that she wants to support her son and she can't. My mother has been working with the Department of Education to get her green card. She currently is working for the department. She currently is on an H4 status, work visa, which that means she's still in the pathway to permanent residency through the Department of Education. But because I aged out, I literally don't have much hope but to go back to my country and reapply, which right now I am basically barred from re-entering the country because my status is over. I do apply for, I am applicable for DACA, for the deferred action, because I entered the country before I was 16, because I graduated from high school, and I did fill out my application, but my application cannot be sent in because I do not have the $465 to pay for the application. My mother is the sole provider of not just me, but for my brother, my sister, my nephew, and herself. So it's hard for her to find $465 to pay for DACA. The last 11 years for her has been a struggle. She has decided that she wants to go back to Trinidad as soon as is possible, and as soon as my status is legit and not undocumented. She's fighting very hard with the department. She helps with the campaign. She is the vice president of AIE. But for a lot of people, it seems hopeless. It seems hopeless to fight a system that seems like the purpose of the system is to basically make it harder for immigrants to get permanent residency. Before entering the country, it seemed easier to get permanent residency. In my particular situation, all I want to do is go back to school, get my degree in psychology, and be a criminal psychologist. But right now it seems pretty hopeless, even though DACA is a temporary solution where I can work. Every 2 years I will have to renew and pay the $465 over and over again, and who knows who's going to be president next year, and who knows if deferred action is still going to be a memorandum that's going to be in effect next year as of January. Oh, we need green cards. Me and my association, we need permanent residency. We are children of recruited professionals, and we feel that if the United States needed our parents to teach here, and they asked our parents to come over here with their families, that the least that they could give us is citizenship. The least that they could give us is a pathway to permanent residency so that we can live life comfortably in the United States. There's a lot of things that people in my association are afraid of. One of the things is being deported. The number one fear is being deported. But there's also a lot of other things that affect us also, like stop and frisk and secure communities. Now, because in the immigration debate, when people hear the phrase immigration or immigrants, the first thing they think of is Hispanic people. Not much people recognize us black immigrants as being immigrants. So in our communities, we looked at as African American, where stop and frisk affects 90% of the minorities in the United States. So now we're being looked at as African Americans who are being discriminated against by stop and frisk. Now there's another policy in New York City called secure communities that personally affects my association. It affects us because secure communities allows the police to take in undocumented youth who do not have their IDs or who do not have identification on them, and fingerprint them and basically tag them as undocumented immigrants and basically discriminate. Basically the police are being allowed to discriminate not just against African Americans or minorities in communities, but now they can discriminate against immigrants in the communities and take us in and report us to ICE. And this is the wrong way to use secure communities, and this is one of the many things that are affecting my association. So now that when we get reported to ICE, now we're at risk to get deported because of this. Emotionally, it is stressful. Everything is stressful. Fighting for something that was promised to us is stressful. Fighting to be normal, fighting to have status is depressing, and it hurts. It hurts to have to do things that others didn't have to do. It hurts to have to tell people that I have a status that is basically derogatory. It makes me feel like I am less of a person in America because of my status, and this needs to be changed. We need permanent residency.
My name is Odaine Bloomfield, O-D-A-I-N-E, B-L-O-O-M-F-I-E-L-D. I am a documented person that's living in the U.S. I came to the U.S. at the age of 8 years old in 2003 with my mother, my father, and my little sister. I was one of the lucky few who came at such an early age that I was able to receive my green card. I received my green card in the summer of 2012. This was quite a feat because hardly anybody who comes up with their parents being recruited as a teacher gets a green card. I have my associates. My mother, who came up to teach English, is teaching right now in Grover Cleveland High School. She's teaching 9th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade English. She's been working in the system for about 9 years now. Unlike my associates, I'm able to receive state identification. I was able to take my permit test this summer. I was able to actually travel back to Jamaica this summer after 7 years. So these were certain things that I was privileged to do. Unlike my peers, I'm able to receive opportunities for scholarships and being able to go off and do different things because they're undocumented. They have been neglected and they have less of an opportunity to go out and pursue their dreams. Unlike my peers, I have opportunities to get scholarships, and this is only because I received my green card after a 7-year process, which was very tireless and relenting. When my parents and I first got it in the mail, we were very ecstatic because this was a huge weight off each and every one of our backs. You know, we would be able to travel back to our country, which we haven't done for the last 7 years. I haven't been able to see any of my relatives or close friends. I was finally able to do that this summer. Because I am a permanent resident of the United States, I have a chance, and I want that chance to be able to give in to each and every one of my peers. So everyone in this association needs a green card, and that's our message.
Cool.
I was lucky enough to receive permanent residency, and I believe that this benefit should be passed on to each and every one of my peers in the International Youth Association. We all deserve a chance to pursue our dreams and the promises that were made to us upon entering this country.
My name is Bertha Lewis. That's B-E-R-T-H-A, and my last name is L-E-W-I-S. I am the president and founder of the BlackInstitute. The BlackInstitute is an action tank. We are a think tank that takes action using data and polling and research. We do leadership training and development, and we also connect with grassroots organizations and do campaigns where we turn things that are academic into real policies. We have 4 areas that we really concentrate on. Environment and how that affects people of color. Our focus is people of color throughout the United States and the diaspora. Economic fairness, education, and immigration. And what we want you all to see is a dirty little secret. There's a dirty little secret in this country of where education and immigration cross. And also a dirty little secret about how black immigrants have been shut out and not spoken of when we talk about a national comprehensive immigration debate. Because people knew my interest in education and immigration, and especially black immigration, I was sitting in my office in downtown Brooklyn one day when I got a call from an attorney. And he said, "Bertha, you need to come over here right away. I got a group of women here, and you've got to hear what has happened to them." And so I was like, well, you know, I'm really busy. He said, no, you got to come. So I said, okay, I'll come. I walked into his office, and there was a group of 8 women, all black, all from the Caribbean. And they began to tell me a story about broken promises. Teachers with advanced degrees, the cream of the crop in the Caribbean, recruited to work in the New York City public school system, promised a path to citizenship, promised help with further education, promised support for their families, promised all sorts of things to get them to come here. And when I met up with them, it was 10 years later. And they were still waiting for their green card. 700 to 800 of these folks, most of them from the Caribbean. And that tale of broken promises, of not folks coming here illegally or jumping over fences was really something. And I'm like, who else knows about this? Because it was shocking to me that these professionals would be treated in such a manner. Professionals that were under the thumb of their principals, professionals who had tremendous family stresses because their children and their spouses could not work, stresses about their legal representation, and most importantly, not being able to get a green card and then become a citizen after so many years. Professionals with advanced degrees, they were classified in the same category as an unskilled farm laborer. So the first meeting that I had was with 8 of them. I asked them to bring other folks that had the same problem with them. The second meeting, they brought 40 people. Then I said, well, maybe, are you willing to fight? Are you willing to organize? Are you willing to come out of the shadows? They said yes. The third meeting was 90 people. And the fourth meeting, which we planned, hoping to just get 100, we had over 225 teachers come that were fired up and ready to fight. And we won some things in that fight. We got rid of principals having to write a letter extending their visa. We actually did, by becoming visible, actually dealt with our Congress people and dealt with Washington, D.C. and connected with other groups of international teachers, those from the Philippines and from all over the world. We formed the Association of Independent Educators. Isn't that?
International.
Oh, the Association of International Educators. Because this is a problem throughout this country. These are folks among us who are professional. They are black, they are invisible to us, and yet they are treated in a very cavalier manner that people would be shocked at the things that they have to go through. There are family stresses that can become so bad that people either leave, give up in disgust, or some families have been driven to despair in that there have been a number of suicides. And those who take the lives of their family because this issue is so serious. But after a year of organizing these teachers, again, one of their issues was that their children were aging out. And they kept using that phrase. What does aging out mean? When you come with a parent that was recruited here again, and if you don't get your green card by the time that you are 21, you are considered aged out. That means you are no longer in status. You must return to the country that you've been away from. Remember, for 10 years, a lot of the children that came with these teachers came as young children, attended school here, went to college here. You cannot drive. You cannot get proper ID. You could be a fabulous student, but you cannot get financial aid. And so, you're like a dreamer. Those young people in this country who want to be under the DREAM Act. But the DREAM Act doesn't include Caribbean dreamers because of the age restrictions and because people just don't think about black immigrants or Caribbeans that come, or black immigrants that come from South America and Central America. They're not just through the Caribbean or from Africa. So these children of these teachers, they have their dreams deferred because they are black, invisible, but they came here documented. So we need to fight also, and those dependents, those children of the teachers, they formed an organization called TIA, the International Youth Association. 2 campaigns on one path, 2 sides of the same coin. The Broken Promises campaign and the Dream Deferred campaign. Both of these campaigns illustrating the dirty little secret of black immigration, where immigration and education cross in this country.
I came in August of 2003 as an international teacher. Then I brought my family with me 2 weeks after, my husband and 3 kids. At the moment, 2 of my kids have gotten through and 1 have not. And there seems to be no hope for her because she is over 18, of course, and she is not even considered in the DREAM Act because when she came, she was older than 16. She had qualified for everything else. She graduated high school here. She has started college here, everything. But because she was older than 16, she's not even eligible for the DREAM Act. So she's still out there. It's frustrating. One, we waited forever to get through. And at the same time, it cost a lot because even though my older son he went through the entire New York school system, he was not eligible for scholarships. He was not eligible for any financial assistance, and he was charged fees as an international student. I'm indebted to a lot of places just to put him through college because I had to pay international fees. Okay, we were promised 1, a better life, 2, that after the most we would have been serving the city was 5 years, and then we would become officially residents and everything would have worked out. Unfortunately, when I came, we were put up at the Marriott Hotel. Fine, wonderful, no food. You had to find your own food. They just give you somewhere to sleep. I don't know if they took into consideration that we were coming from a so-called third world country and we were supposed to find our own food at the beginning. Thanks to family, at least I was able to eat. And then that was the first shock. Then we went through all the other cultural things. Then having to attend a job fair to find a school was the second shock because I thought you recruited me, you know exactly where I was going. But then we were told we had to attend a job fair to find schools on our own. We were not placed in schools. We had to go out there. And this fair was held at the Marriott too. It's kind of bittersweet in that my oldest son was able to go finish school and find stuff like that. But at the same time, my husband was unable to work. And that put a lot of financial strain on a family of 5 with just 1 salary. And we know the prices of things in New York City, the rent and so forth. So yes, you had a job, but then it took a financial strain on your family, and it also put a strain on your family because if your husband is accustomed to being the head of the home and then you uprooted him and then he's not able to work as a man, everybody knows how that feels. But my message to them is to just give us the respect because we made a big difference in the education system in New York City. Many of us have went into SUR schools, like I'm one who went into a SUR school, and we've moved that school from SUR to being one of the top schools. And you need to appreciate that, and you can step it up by campaigning for urging the UCIS to listen. We brought them here and they've made a difference in the New York City system. Do something for them. Hurry the system. There must be a way in which you could have gotten this whole situation settled way before today, because many of us, our kids have aged out, as they so call it, and they're being left in the woods. Who from the Board of Ed care about our kids? Nobody.
I came to the United States when I was 16 on September 18th, 2001, 7 days after 9/11. I was a minor. I have to go wherever my mom takes me, so I had no choice in the matter to say I want to stay in my home country. And at the time too, I was excited because, you know, it's America, from a third world country to America, like, you know. And for me, you know, it was more opportunities, because I figured that in that country there was nothing really for me at that time, and I knew that. And I figured this was an opportunity to come here and to start something better.
Okay, I was born in Jamaica, West Indies. I am a child of a recruited Caribbean teacher. She was recruited in 2001 to come to the United States and work within the borough of Brooklyn. As of right now, I am a aged out individual. I can still attend college, but I'd still have to be classified as a out-of-state student. So the possibility of getting in-state tuition is far removed. The other issue that I would like to bring to light is the fact that deferred action does not really apply to half of the individuals or the children of international recruiters, mainly because the majority of the individuals that came to America arrived at the age of 16, whereas these recruited nationals arrived basically earlier in the year of 2001. So my birthday was April 19th, but I arrived in October of 2001. So I missed deferred action by just a few months. So we won't be, you know, able to take advantage of that opportunity. Okay. And the possibility that if I return to Jamaica, I would be barred from entering the country for 3 to 10 years, because there is this law that was recently passed that state or suggests or implies that if you stay within the country or overstay in the country for more than 180 days, you will be barred for 3 to 10 years if you leave the country and try to return. But it's definitely hard, because when you want something but you cannot achieve it, it's kind of a setback, I guess. But people adapt, and that's what I've been doing for the past 6 years, adapting. And I hope, you know, this video actually shed light on what the majority of us educated, certificate holding Caribbean youths are facing every day.
Living in Trinidad was very relaxed mode. It was, I worked as a district officer, where I traveled to schools, various schools, at least there were 16 schools, working on a World Bank sponsored program where special education was being introduced to the education system in Trinidad. I worked in the day, in the afternoon I did lecturing at a college, doing special education courses. That was as far as my profession was concerned. Life otherwise, I lived in a 3-bedroom house with my husband and 3 children. We belonged to a very close-knit community. Along with that, I also did a lot of voluntary work, both with the church, where I did remediation for the First Communion class, and I also worked with Special Olympics as the national equestrian coach. We trained special needs children to participate in international competition equestrian. So it was a pretty full life, yes. And the person who was doing the recruiting, he actually was at the recruiting office, Sam. He came down to the back of the room where I was sitting and asked me, he said, well, come on, let me talk with you. Let's hear what qualifications you had. And I told him, listen, I'm not really interested in coming. I only came to accompany some friends, and they went in and I'm going to wait until they're finished. I'm just looking on to see what is happening. He then asked me, what are your qualifications? I said, well, okay, I have 2 bachelors and a master's. At that time I had 20 years experience teaching, both in the classroom and as an administrator. And I just told him what I was doing, and he was like, what? We need you. You have to come. I said, well, I'm not really ready to recruit. He said, what happened? You have family? I said, yes, I have 3 children. He said, what are they doing? Are they in school? I said, well, I have 2 who want to go to college, but what is being offered in Trinidad, what they want to study is not being offered. He said, well, okay, we will provide education for them. You come. So at that point, he took all my information. I told him also I had one child who was very, very ill, extremely ill. And he says, we have good medical up here in New York. You come. So he took all my information. He didn't even see my certifications, nothing. And he filled in everything that I had to do. I didn't go to any other person. His thing was, he saw my he heard what I said I was doing, and he wanted me to come. And he would provide everything that my children would need. That was the extent of the recruitment. I just went into one of the rooms where folks who went through the whole process sat, and they told them, well, what to expect. You come up by a certain date. You had to come up by August 11th for orientation and, just the steps. And that was about it. But the main thing that got me is the promise that he was going to, they're going to put everything in place for my children, and that is where they fell short. There were some changes being made. We wouldn't be able to get a work permit because at the time that they went to get the work permit from immigration, the quota was filled. But because they needed us and they wanted us there right away, they will give us a J visa, which this will be corrected or adjusted as we went along. So I'm at the back of my mind, okay, there is something not going correct, but they're going to fix it. I took the form that they gave me for the J visa to the embassy and got everybody's passport stamped. Amazing. Done in 2 days. If anyone knows about going to immigration in the Caribbean, you have to make an appointment weeks in advance, and then when you go, you have to line up, and it's a whole long process. They did this in 24 hours. This put in the back of my mind that whatever issue came up, they could fix. Right? Because I didn't even have to carry the children. I just took the passports, they stamped it, which was amazing. You going to, and the people at the office, they were like, you going to help New York and the rest? I said, great. And they were so pleased. So I'm seeing that problems may arise, but on the other hand, it's going to be fixed. 1 month later, we come up here, I go to the Marriott, and I'm hearing a Canadian person get up and say, where's our relocation money? And I'm like, okay. I had to pay for myself and my 4 children to come up. The children's father didn't want to come up at the time. And I'm like thinking in the back of my mind, let me go find out. Then I go ask the officers who are dealing with us, the recruiting officers, and he's saying, well, the Canadians have a different contract, a different trade agreement, because in NAFTA, the 3 Mexico and US they have a different trade agreement to the Caribbean and the other places. This is why And I'm like, okay.